Trap games can ruin your season, and we have several on the Big Ten schedule this weekend. We'll see how they play out. I've got some thoughts. How about you? Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I am Craig Shemon. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We always appreciate it. You know we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, of course. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And these days, every new potential hire could feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. All right, trap games. We got a few. We'll explain. Plus, come here. JJ McCarthy may come back for another year next year. We'll get to that. And we'll have our PigSkin Picks as we send you off into the weekend. Be sure to subscribe. The little black button down below, please. And also share and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way, you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. All right. I see a few trap games on the Big Ten schedule this weekend, and I want to make sure you are all aware of them just in case we have an upset or two and something to talk about next week. Come to think of it, I was thinking about this all throughout college football. I could count on one hand any major upsets this year, and there haven't been a lot. Kind of gone chalk, if you will, for most of the season. There have been a couple of exceptions, but nothing too crazy. That means we're due. We're at the halfway point of the football season. We're due for a major upset. So those of you that are football experts, most of you, bear with me for like 15 seconds. All right. In case you're a veteran of football, just give me 15 seconds here. So a trap game. That's when a really, really, really good team plays a lesser team, usually at home. And a good team doesn't take the lesser team as seriously as they should until they find themselves in trouble. It's almost too late. And suddenly the lesser team starts getting confidence that they can pull off an upset or at least put a scare into the good team. Adding to that drama, of course, to the trap game scenario is when there's a major or more important opponent the following week. You know, the look ahead, if you will. A good team will be caught looking ahead. And thus, again, overlooking the current opponent, which may sneak up on them. Okay, there we go. There's the 15 seconds. I didn't want to insult the smart veteran football fans, but if somebody's new and kind of figuring things out, I felt like I needed to explain. But I want to make sure that we're all on the same page because we got several matchups that fit that very description here this weekend in the Big Ten. You know, some people were looking at the games that were scheduled like, oh, okay, is this one interesting? Maybe. Yeah. And there's some interesting matchups, but there are some other ones that you might overlook until you shouldn't overlook them. So let's get into them. Let's start off with Indiana, a 2-win team at 6-0 Michigan. Now, is this a trap game? Well, let's talk about it. On occasion, IU has played Michigan tough. Even beat them in 2020. But that was the first time since 1987. Now, the Hoosiers are coming off a bye, in which they fired offensive coordinator Walt Bell and promoted Rod Carey. He's the former Northern Illinois head coach. He's now the offensive coordinator of the Hoosiers. Great. Congratulations. You're now the OC. And he gets the job, and his very first assignment is to come up with an offensive game plan versus the number one scoring defense in the country and to play the Wolverines at the Big House. Yeah. Good luck, sir. Good luck. That is going to be a tough one. The Hoosiers might not score. They might not score. Seriously, they might not. Certainly not more than a field goal or two max on this game. That's what I'm calling. We'll have our pigskin picks later on, of course. Michigan, on the other hand, is playing the best complementary football in the entire country. Bar none. I don't even think it's even close. All three phases. Plus, they've committed a grand total of one penalty in their last 2 games combined. It's like, am I the only sports guy in America here on Locked On Big Ten? I keep bringing this up. I don't hear anybody else talking about it. I'm blown away by it. I think it's fascinating. Nobody wants to talk about it. That's how well coached they are. That's how methodical this Michigan football team is. They don't make mistakes ever. They don't beat themselves. And I'm blown away by it. One penalty. We'll see if they get any penalties against the Indiana Hoosiers. Oh, and as far as this being a trap game, overlooking an Indiana opponent, the Wolverines, if they get off to a slow start, maybe, which they won't, it might be because they're eyeing their next opponent, Michigan State. That's their second biggest rivalry other than Ohio State, the Michigan State game. So, and that one's under the lights at Spartan Stadium the following weekend. I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to that. So check that one out for consideration. Here's one, though, that I think might get interesting. Turn up the volume here. Here we go. 5-0 Ohio State is at 2-4 Purdue. What do you think about this one? So the Buckeyes came off a bit of a rough spell versus Maryland, where they played even for 3 quarters. Then they poured it on with 27 unanswered points, and it won by 20. If they can bottle up what they did in the last quarter and a few minutes, maybe the last 17 minutes, 18 minutes of that ball game against Maryland, if they can bottle that up, they can play with anybody. They already can play with anybody, but I mean, they can beat anybody. They were phenomenal in that stretch. But psychologically, do they think they can just open up the spigot anytime they want? Sometimes it's hard to turn the offense on while you're on the road at a place like Purdue. And if they get off to a slow start, like they did last week against Maryland, they might start to wonder about themselves. And you know who the Buckeyes have next week? Well, they got Penn State. They might be looking ahead past Purdue and looking ahead to Penn State. This game has all the makings of a magical trap game upset. Maybe. I'm not saying, well, we'll have our PigSkin Picks coming up in a few minutes. But anyway, this one has all the ingredients, so pay attention to this one because that's a very big game next week. They might be looking at Penn State and Ohio State. All right, and speaking of Penn State, I hesitate to even talk about this as any kind of a trap game, but again, 1-6 UMass at Penn State. You could call it a trap game. It's a weaker opponent. Check. Big game on the road next week against Ohio State, check. But Penn State is just so much better than UMass. I mean, I don't know if we can call this a trap game. Penn State's favored by 6 touchdowns in this one. They might win by at least 5, and they'll be in good shape for the game against the Buckeyes next week. So I hesitate to call that one a trap game because I don't see any way on earth that a UMass comes in and beats Penn State in this particular game. So those are my thoughts on the trap games. What do you think? Love to hear from you. Hit me up on Twitter at TalkBig10 number 10. Don't forget to follow our website as well, talkbig10.com. That's with the number 10. And any comments you wish to convey here on YouTube for those watching on the video. Let's take a look now at the rest of the games in the Big Ten this weekend. An interesting slate. So Michigan State is at Rutgers. I'm not considering any of these trap games. This is just your standard run-of-the-mill Big Ten game. Still no word out of Michigan State as to who the Spartans starting quarterback will be in this one when the kickoff at Rutgers. It's possible that they move off of starter Noah Kim. Coming off the bye week, he's been struggling a little bit. Caitlin Hauser and Sam Levitt have played a little bit this year. Interim head coach Harlan Barnett says that the team knows, they already know, the team knows who the starter is going to be, but they're not going to announce it to the world until Saturday. Former head coach Mel Tucker did the same thing earlier at the beginning of the season. He employed a similar strategy for their season opener against Central Michigan. He wouldn't tell anybody who the starting quarterback was going to be at the time. It was between Caitlin Hauser and Noah Kim. And he said that everybody will find out when the Spartans take the field for the first time in game 1 against Central Michigan. And at the time, we saw that it obviously turned out to be Noah Kim. Kind of a similar strategy coming off the bye week, I guess, for Michigan State. Rutgers, meanwhile, is 4-2. And if they win here, they go to 5-2, obviously, because math, it works out that way, 5-2. With Indiana on the schedule the following week, so they could go 6-2. It should be noted, Greg Schiano here and his quarterback, Gavin Wimsatt, putting together a nice season, and they should be recognized for that. So we are. Here you go. Illinois is at Maryland, and Illinois comes in at 2-4, and they just can't get it together at Illinois this year. Last week, the opening drive against Nebraska last Friday night, they got to the 6-inch line. Opening drive, had 2 cracks at it, couldn't get it in. I mean, we're talking about a Brett Bielema team here. That just doesn't happen with Brett Bielema teams, and it did. Give credit to Nebraska, by the way. Meanwhile, we'll see if Maryland has any kind of emotional hangover after giving it their all in the Ohio State game, and then it just fell apart in the fourth quarter. Again, as we mentioned earlier, that game was tied late in the third quarter. Then they gave up the 27 unanswered points along the way, ended up losing by 20. Good news is for Maryland Terps, though. Look, all right, so you go, you hang tough for a while against Ohio State, you get the loss. A lot of people have done that. You're still 5-1. You're still 5-1. Still plenty of football ahead for the Maryland Terps at this point. And then we've got Iowa at Wisconsin at 4 o'clock on Fox. This is the game of the week in the Big Ten. That is absolutely the best game. Iowa, despite all of its problems and its fan base, you guys are out there. They're upset with the offense and the offensive coordinator there, Cade McNamara. He's the quarterback. He's out for the year. It's bad news. A lot of bad news, right? But Iowa is still 5-1. They win football games. It is ugly, no doubt about it, but they win football games. Meanwhile, the Badgers are sitting pretty at 4-1 with a powerful running attack. And Ricardo Hallman, he leads the country with 4 interceptions this year. So, I mean, I know their secondary was getting a bit maligned a little bit, but he's getting the interceptions. He's getting doing a good job there. And, of course, the Heartland Trophy is up for grabs in this game as well. So that's a quick look at what's going on this weekend, trap games or not. Would love to hear from you. Hit me up, Talk Big Ten on Twitter or here on YouTube as well. Now, a couple other reminders. After this Iowa-Wisconsin game, it's the latest game of the day, 4 o'clock in the Big Ten. We've been going live on Locked On Big Ten every Saturday, either afternoon or evening. We'll go on live sometime after this game. Watch out on the socials, like on Twitter. We'll announce when we're going on, but it'll be probably around 8 o'clock, somewhere around there, Saturday night Eastern time, whenever the Iowa-Wisconsin game is done. We'll jump on with our thoughts of all that. And we've had some success. And tell your friends about it, because that's how we get a lot of new viewers here on Locked On Big Ten. Also, coming up in a minute, JJ McCarthy at Michigan might be coming back for another year. There's some talk. And there's going to be a bunch more Friday night games in the Big Ten next year. Got all those details in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. So these days, every new potential hire in the office or a small business you may have, it's a high-stakes wager for your small business. You can be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates possible if you need to fill a position in the office. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and free. Look, you're a manager. You're just like a coach. You got to put a team together, and it's got to work. LinkedIn Jobs. You post a job, and you've got the purple hashtag hiring frame on your LinkedIn profile, and that's how you spread the word to everybody that you're hiring. Spread the word out there. You get candidates, but then you get simple tools like screening questions that help kind of make it easier to make sure you're dialed into the right candidates, people with the right skills and the right experience, so you can quickly prioritize them and interview the people you want and hire the people you want. And it's fantastic. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. And you can post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So, Big Ten, right? It seems like Big Ten games are everywhere. All these networks are carrying them. Very easy to find, exposed to everywhere. Now, apparently, starting 2024, Big Ten is going to have even more Friday night games. That's right, Friday night games. In fact, I think there's going to be at least 9 of them next year. Right now, by comparison, there have been 5. We're going to almost double it with 9 Friday night games, giving the conference even more exposure across the country. They're going to air on the Fox platforms, and there's even a potential for Fox to have a year-round sports showcase on Friday nights once the WWE SmackDown bolts for the USA Network in the fall. Now, there may be a problem or two. For example, Michigan will not play on Friday nights. I don't know if it's because they think high school football is sacred, or they're like, hey, we're Michigan. We don't need to be on Friday night. We get enough coverage on Saturday. Whatever it is, Michigan doesn't play on Friday nights. Ohio State, Penn State, and Iowa don't like to play at home on Friday nights. So more games. Who are we going to cover? Well, don't forget, the Big Ten's getting a bunch more new teams next year, so they should have enough product to spread it around there on Friday nights. Also, speaking of Michigan a minute ago, there is some talk that Michigan quarterback JJ McCarthy may be interested in coming back for the 2024 season for his senior year. One recent mock draft had him going in the first round with all those other quarterbacks that are coming out, but maybe all those other quarterbacks coming out got him thinking, let me wait till the year after that. He's on a perfect team right now, playing behind the best offensive line in college football. He's got Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards to hand off to. And, of course, because of them, everybody plays 8 in the box, so passing downfield is easier. And as everybody tries to stop the Wolverine run, unsuccessfully, I might add, and that makes his job easy. And maybe that's why he's found Roman Wilson 8 times in 6 games in the end zone already this year. But anyway, there's some talk that he's really enjoying himself and likes Harbaugh. We'll see if Jim Harbaugh stays. Although, again, we told you a couple of days ago, there's a rumor out there that the Harbaugh contract extension is coming, and it's going to be big, and it's be coming soon. Speaking of coaches, Penn State defensive coordinator Manny Diaz, he might be one of several hot assistants who will be in high demand when this season is over and the head coaching carousel opens up at the end of the year. You know, he had a pretty decent run in 3 years at Miami. He was 21-15, 3 bowl appearances, but it was fired because his name wasn't Mario Cristobal. Cristobal was the hot name at the time, and the Hurricane boosters decided we want this guy. So Diaz was out. Cristobal is in, although Cristobal doesn't know how to do victory formation and save. That's another story. We'll save that for the ACC guys. This is Big Ten. But anyway, the boosters are already mad at him. But Manny Diaz, he turned out to be a pretty good coach. He's got a great resume. As I just mentioned, he's only 49 years old. He's had Penn State's defense rolling. They're right there nationally with the numbers with Ohio State and Michigan with the defensive rankings. And this defense at Penn State is loaded with future NFL talent, many of which he recruited or helped recruit. And I think he would be a very attractive candidate for any job opening. And he's got experience recruiting all over the country now. Haven't been at Miami, haven't been now at Penn State, the Midwest, wherever. I think he's good to go. He's ready. Yesterday, we talked about Washington AD Troy Dannon. Remember how he said that if money bought championships, Ohio State and Texas would win everything all the time, and they haven't won anything in a long time. That's what he said. Shots fired right before his school comes to the Big Ten, right? Now, Oregon football coach Dan Lanning, he was asked how Oregon will have to adjust to the Big Ten style when the Ducks come to the Big Ten. He said that the Ducks will force Big Ten teams to adjust to them and their style and their scheme. He also, by the way, said that he recruits across the country and he's excited about playing in a conference week and play in every single time zone and spread himself out and get exposure everywhere. So duly noted, Oregon Ducks are ready. By the way, Big Ten fans, if you want a scouting report for what's coming, this weekend, one of the better games, Saturday, featuring 8th-ranked Oregon and 7th-ranked Washington. Both teams coming to the Big Ten. Both teams playing on Saturday afternoon. That is at 3:30 Eastern on ABC. Both teams 5-0. Both teams are explosive. Should be a fun game. I'm going to be dialed into that one as well. I'm going to have a scouting report. I'm going to check them out. No doubt. Right? Got to be ready. And let me know what you think. And I want to thank everybody for watching Locked On Big Ten, by the way. Hey, tell everybody about us. We have been growing, thanks to you. But you can hit the black subscribe button and share. Subscribe and share, word of mouth. Tell your Big Ten friends about this channel. Bring them in the club that we have here, all Big Ten stuff. We'd love it if you could help us out. Subscribe, share, follow, like Locked On Big Ten. Also, a reminder, on Fridays on this channel and all the other Locked On College channels, we've got our Locked On College Football Kickoff Live show. I always like to participate for a couple minutes in there, give everybody a heads up what's going on in the Big Ten. So check that out each and every week on all the Locked On College YouTube channels. Don't want to miss it, including this one here on Locked On Big Ten. All right, we wind down the week with one of my favorite segments, Pigskin Picks. Been talking about the games. Now, I'm going to tell you who's going to win them, right? It's all coming up in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. I want to tell you about FanDuel. Snap into action this NFL season. It's underway, man. Jump on. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Yeah, that's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose, by the way. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is very easy. They got a wide range of stuff. You can do point spreads, money line winners or losers, prop bets, player props, individual players, over unders. It's so easy. It's fun. Check it out. Just start off small. Bet $1, whatever. Bet the $5. Get the bonus 200 bonus bets. All that stuff. It's right there. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the rest of the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, so it is time. We've done all this prep, all this talk, all this previewing. Let's pull it all together now. It's time for our Pigskin Picks. As you know, quick recap. For this segment, I just do money line. I just pick the games, okay? I do give you my advice on the point spreads and the over-unders as well. So let's put it here on the screen. Now let's see what we got. By the way, quick reminder, last week I was 5-1. Not bad. 52-9. Straight up. Pretty good so far. All right. Let's take a look, see what else we have here. The games on the board this weekend. We will start off with UMass and Penn State. All right. Penn State, a 41.5 point favorite. The over-under at 55. There's no doubt about it. Penn State wins this football game. There's no way on earth they don't win this football game. The question is for you guys if they will beat the point spread or not. I think they will. Look, I think Penn State scores over 40 points. But the question is, how many does Massachusetts score against the Penn State defense? And I think they maybe score like 7, 6, 7, or 10 points, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I actually think this over-under is right at the number. I don't think it's going to blow past it. I don't think it's going to be like the Miami Dolphins that score 70 points or anything. But I'll take the over on 55 on this one. Also, Illinois at Maryland. Illinois with all sorts of problems. There's no doubt Maryland is winning this football game. They have the bounce back from their loss against Ohio State last week. I think they cover it by 2 touchdowns, 13.5. And I will take the over. I think Maryland will put some points on the board here, over 50. Meanwhile, Iowa is at Wisconsin. This is going to be my upset of the week. Badger fan, don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me. But Iowa just wins games, unless it's against Penn State. 5-1. At the very least, if you don't want to agree with me on the upset here, at the very least, if Wisconsin wins, they will not cover the 9.5. All right. It'll be a closer game than that. That's my professional opinion. And as I always do, I always take the under in an Iowa football game. 34.5. Take the under. If you want to say Wisconsin wins, fine, but they're not covering. I'm going to go ahead for these Pigskin Picks. I'm going to pick Iowa for the upset win. This game is huge in the Big Ten West. The winner has a strong leg up on getting to the Big Ten championship game. All right, let's see what else we got here. Indiana at Michigan. Michigan's going to win. Do they cover the 33.5? They started covering, they didn't cover all those games at the beginning of the season. Now they're starting to cover games. They're really starting to roll. So I'm going to take them to cover the 33.5. But here's the tricky part. I'm going to take the under 45. Under 45. And how they're going to score 33. They're going to win by 33.5. But you're taking the under. I don't think Indiana scores much at all in this game. I think a field goal or two tops. I was thinking before this line came out, I was thinking 40-6, which would put them 1 point over. Now, I hear the weather is going to be a little windy and a little cooler up north this weekend. Maybe some inclement weather, perhaps, maybe just fantastic football weather. So I'm gonna go a hair under on this one, just a hair under, but Michigan covers and wins. That's a tricky thread to thread the needle. Ohio State at Purdue. I did put this one on upset special for our trap game segment earlier today, but at the end of the day, if you can ask me to put money on it, I'm gonna say Ohio State wins. I'm gonna say they cover the 19, take the over on the 49. And finally, we got Rutgers against Michigan State. All day long, Rutgers. I think Rutgers covers the 4.5. I do take the under. Rutgers is a really good defensive team. They're going to put the squeeze on Michigan State, who doesn't have a lot going on right now. Again, they might be changing quarterbacks here. Rutgers, Gavin Wimsatt, doing a nice job, but they still don't put a lot of points up. So I will take the under 39 in that game, but Rutgers wins. So there you have it. Pretty awesome. Can't wait for the weekend to get rolling here and get all these games. In the meantime, there are many ways for you to interact with me all weekend long. If you want to, just you're sitting on the couch watching games, fire me off a tweet, hit me up with a comment here. Twitter is at TalkBig10 website. Check it out. TalkBig10 10.com. And also comments here on YouTube if that's how you consume this podcast, which comes out every morning during the week. And a reminder, going live. We're going to go live after the Iowa-Wisconsin game, sometime around 8 o'clock Eastern. We're live right here on this channel. So check us out. We'll be part of your weekend as well. Be sure to subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. I want you to be part of every single one. Tell your friends about it, share it, subscribe, and also invite you now to check out our Locked On Sports Today podcast, our friends over there, for the latest of everything else going on in sports. In the meantime, have a great day. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon. Thanks for checking us out. I can't wait till we meet again right here on Locked On Big Ten. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'm Craig Shemon.